What's up, everybody? This is Buck Grant, and I have something to say. So, one of my favorite authors, Pierce Brown, wrote an amazing series called Red Rising. Was on, I believe, the 5th book in his series. He had written hundreds of pages of it. And just when he was thinking about publishing it, he scrapped the entire thing, threw every page away, and then started from scratch. Now, as a writer who has done that before, it is gut-wrenching to take months, maybe a year of work and just throw it in the trash. But when you know there's a piece of you that knows that this isn't your best work, that this isn't the thing that you want to release into the world, you don't really have a choice. And I say this to you all because in December, I announced that I was doing a course called Courage for Men, or it's a masterclass for men called Men on Courage. And got 10 men to join a pilot program. Essentially, I was designing a thing from accumulation of all the coaching that I've done over the last 3 decades of work. And the first half of it was done without a hitch, 4 weeks in, feeling really good about it. And then going into the 5th week, the muse wasn't calling me. I had the entire thing planned to the very end and was about to release it, and I just couldn't pull the trigger. And after some realization and some inner thought and talking with my wonderful woman, Tanya, I realized why. The work didn't feel of integrity. Integrity meaning it wasn't my best work. I know that I could have put it out there, and for most people, it would have been great for them. It would have helped them. But I know that it wasn't the true work that I needed to put into the world, so I pulled it off the shelf. I pulled off months of work and scrapped it. All to restart again tomorrow. And first, I'd like to apologize for all the guys in the group, but also thank all the men in the group, because this was always going to be a course that was under development, and the reason that I was able to give it for the price that it was is because they are part of the developmental process. And in developmental processes, especially something that combines both art and science, who knows what the time frame is actually going to be. So I apologize that it did not come out at a timely manner. But what I've always promised is to give you my best work. And if that means it's going to take longer, then I know and hope that the men that I'm working with will appreciate and respect the fact that when the muse finally did call, you will get the best piece of me and the best piece of my work. I went into a deep study of other things outside of martial arts that opened up an entire world and gave me a different perspective of stuff that I had already written down. And after doing that, there was no way that I could put anything less than what I had discovered. And so starting tomorrow, we finish up the last few weeks of the course. And if you don't know much about the course, the framework of it is using both the shield and the spear as symbols for masculinity. The spear meaning the outward projection of the man, the thing that wants to penetrate the world, the thing that wants to take who he is and then make a mark on this planet for good or evil, but hopefully for the sake of good for the men that I'm training with. So if the spear was something that penetrates the world, then the shield is the thing that you protect. That is the home metaphorically and physically. And in the process of developing the shield work, we have 3 components of the shield. We have authenticity, integrity, and we have containment. Now, the authenticity was the first thing, oddly enough, that I would be working on. And rather than just reading out rote facts about neuropsychology and different stories, I wanted to get back to the root of who I am as a teacher, which is a storyteller. I know that human beings are narrative creatures. The storytelling is the thing that attacks and enters the brain from two different ways. We attack it through knowledge and wisdom, based on who's writing it. But then it goes through feeling and emotion. So story will elicit an emotion which will ingrain a response. We are wired to live through our emotions. As a matter of fact, we are emotional beings that think, not thinking beings that feel. And so as I was studying, I realized that the path from boy to manhood is a story in and of itself. And within that story, you have phases. And sometimes we retreat back to phases and move forward to phases. But the 4 stages that came to me through meditation, through dream, through study, were the warrior. And before that, the warrior, we have the fighter. So the fighter, the warrior, the king, and then the kingmaker. And knowing that a boy makes his journey towards man by fighting himself into the world. He's basically trying to cultivate himself, turn himself into something, because he comes into the world as nothing. He has no resources. He has no essential value. As a matter of fact, he comes across as more of a liability than an asset. And because of the love of a mother and a father, he can turn himself into something that is of great impact to the world. But in the beginning, he knows nothing. He basically takes care of himself. Everything's about him. So he's worried about his food. He's worried about his becoming stronger. He's worried about his own sleep. He's worried about his own sexual desires. It's just about him. And a boy does not leave this phase just because he gets older. He has to go through a rite of passage, a trial that integrates him into the tribe. And so the next stage from fighter goes into warrior. And a warrior is a person who's starting to gather assets and resources through a community. So a warrior is generally fighting for a cause, but by fighting for a cause, he's fighting alongside people, whether it be leading them or influencing them or being influenced. So everything now is about his connection to other people. So now it's just not about sex, for example, it's about relationship. The relationship might reflect something about his status, about his worth, same thing about his job or his leadership capabilities. Again, we're still in a phase where even though it looks altruistic, it's still about him. It's about how he's seen by others. And then he intends to build an identity based on that and then spends the rest of his life defending that. Now, some men and most men get to the warrior stage and live the rest of their life out there. A few men will graduate to the stage of king. And now a king is working for a cause outside of himself. He's building a kingdom. And this means that it's not just about him anymore. It's about other people. It's about raising your family, making sure that your legacy continues and remains. It's about making sure that your wife or loved one is taken care of and that she is becoming the fullest expression of herself. It's about you having direction for your business, for your family, for something greater outside of yourself that is of yourself, something that you created, that you brought down with you, that is bigger than you, but is of you. And aspiring to be a king, I think, is the most noble thing that a man could do, and it's really what could change the world. Because if there was more king-like men in the world, we wouldn't have the division, we wouldn't have the, how should I say this? There's a group of men out there that pose themselves as kings, but they're really vultures. They are people that prop themselves up to be in power, and then they prey upon the weak. And then they turn the weak into followers of their new church, their new cult, their new whatever. Their real goal is not to elevate anyone. Their real goal is to elevate themselves through other people. And so we have some false kings pretending to be real kings, and the world could use more kings. And then how do we make more kings in the world? You become a kingmaker eventually. At the king level, it's again not about you, it's about others. And at the kingmaker level, it's about creating more kings. So now again, it's not about you, it's about exponentially changing the world. The more leaders that we have in the world, the more I can exponentially change the world around me. I can only do but so much through my own actions. Therefore, if there's more leaders that are created as a result of me, then perhaps I can make a dent in the world that is for the good. And I am in the kingmaker stage of my career. I turned 50 this year. I was a fighter for most of my career. I gained some warrior status by getting some clout and recognition and being through relationships. And now that I've graduated to being a king or having king-like qualities, I want to create more in the world. I have a gentleman coming out to do my very first Kingmaker course, which is going to be just him and me, and him becoming the next version of himself, which I'm very proud that he's making that big move. Again, all of this to say that out of integrity and authenticity for myself and for what I want to see in the world, I paused on something, and I apologize for not holding integrity for the timeline, but never for the quality. I will wait and wait and wait until it is right before it is time. And again, I thank you all for support. I know it's been a while since I've been up here, and this is going to get a little long, so it'll probably be on YouTube rather than any of my other channels. But I wish you all, in the essence of the warrior and the gentleman, I wish you all to be brave, to be bold, and to always choose courage. Get after everyone.